Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we have some spoilers for Campaign 3 of Critical Role. So if you aren't caught up to episode 97, I recommend clicking off, getting caught up, and then eventually making your way back to this video. So there has been a lot of speculation surrounding the return of Sam Riegel and who or what he is going to be playing when he does come back. Hell, I've made, I think, 2 or 3 videos based around that sole thing so far, and this is going to be yet another one. And I said I wasn't going to make any more, but hey, shit just happens and people make good points and I want to talk about it. So, realistically, a lot of people have been talking about the return of Sam Riegel and what exactly he's going to be playing when he comes back. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of branching theories and ideas, but there is one that I see a lot, and I personally can't disagree with it more, and that is Sam Riegel returning as FCG. Since the moment FCG has died, fans have been talking about the idea of the party going to Devexian, going to Dancer, and going to Imahari Joe, and having the 3 of them working together to repair FCG. And when that didn't happen, and the party elected to leave that till later, leave talking to Joe, Dancer, and Devexian till later, they instead went to Aor, which then fueled even more ideas about how they could bring back FCG through many different ways. Example 1, through finding the exact same repair machine that the Mighty Nine found in Campaign 2, which repaired Devexian from his state of disarray. They could just throw FCG's body in it, and then bing bang boom, we have FCG again. Now, unfortunately, the party have gone a different direction from that machine. They've gone further into the Genesis Ward, which is away from that machine that the Mighty Nine found. So that, at the moment, is way out of the way, and is not going to happen. So, it's over there. Another theory is that they're going to find another Aorton and then going to connect the headpiece, the wiry hair piece of FCG into that Aorton, and it's going to transfer FCG's consciousness into that Aorton's body, thus bringing FCG back in a new body. It could look like Frida, it could look like anything, it doesn't matter, but a new body for FCG. Or they could find a room filled with FCG murder bots and fight them, and one of them survives or one of them isn't good enough sort of state and repair, and they just chuck the FCG wiring back into that one, and then bam, they have a new FCG. Of course, I would imagine they themselves can't do the wiring because they're not really an intelligent party. I guess Essek is there, so he theoretically could, but they would probably take one of these Aorton bodies back to Joe, Dancer, or Devexian, and that's how they did it. But there's a big issue with this, and that is the Aortons who are being brought back or being awakened are doing just that. They're being awakened. They weren't necessarily killed. They were turned off, shut down, made deactive, a bunch of different ways to say they were sleeping, not dead. FCG blew up their core, their central being, their the thing that makes them FCG, the thing that holds their personality, their life, their everything, blew up. That was what was blown up. It wasn't just some random thing in his chest that blew up. It was him. FCG blew his core up. There is no longer memories around of FCG. There is no longer the spirit of FCG. That is what he blew up when he went kaboom against Odahan Thule. He blew up, or they blew up, the core of their being. There is no more FCG as we knew it. Fresh cut grass is gone. They could easily find another faithful caregiver, but fresh cut grass, as the person that we've known for the last 2.5 years of this campaign, is gone. And as far as the other Aorton bodies that might have a soul still left in them that they could just transfer the consciousness over into, I don't know if that'll work either. For one, when these other Aortons wake up, they don't have memories of their own. They're just a blank slate, but they do have a personality and some semblance of what they used to be. Frida, when he woke up, didn't quite know who he was or what they were, but they did have some sort of memories in the back of their head of protecting some sort of thing in his mind. He wasn't terribly sure what it was, but he had some memories, and when he would dream, those are what he would kind of see occasionally. So we do know that some parts of the robots or the Aortons are retained after they've been turned off, but not completely. They are, for the most part, blank slates. And if they were to try to chuck any semblance of FCG, it could theoretically pass over into the other Aorton body, but it's hard to tell because that Aorton also had a life prior to what was happening before. So it's kind of hard specifically to tell what exactly would happen if they were to try, but I'm of the firm belief that there is not much left of FCG to transfer. There isn't a consciousness, there isn't a soul, there isn't anything left to transfer over. Everything blew up. They blew up and nothing was really left. There might be memory, like a memory bank or something, but it's unclear about exactly how Aortons work. So realistically, that's probably not likely how it would work. The best option they could have would be the machine that fixed Devexian, but they went in the completely wrong direction to go use that thing. So finding another FCG or another like murder bot body, not a likely thing. And finding another Aorton and being able to transfer over whatever is left of FCG is also not very likely as long as they remain in Aor with it. If they go to Joe or Dancer or Devexian with that other body, maybe. But that is still much further down the line, and the expected return of Sam Riegel is in episode 98 at the live show. So it's kind of hard to dictate exactly if something like that would be impossible, because unless they just quickly teleport to somewhere else and then Sam emerges, I don't think that's going to happen. That's just not something that's in the card as of right now for a return like that. So those reasonings there, those to me are the in-world reasons as to why FCG likely, not saying impossible, but it's likely FCG will not come back. But there are real-world reasons why I believe FCG won't come back either. The first one being, realistically, the group are a bunch of storytellers, and to jeopardize in any form or fashion the emotional impact that FCG's sacrifice had is not something that they're going to want to do. The party loves storytelling. They love to make it so even if it doesn't make sense, even if it doesn't have to be that way, they like it because it's more emotional and it's more of a storytelling thing. A good example of the cast being super into storytelling over like what is best for the party is with Marisha and Laudna. Marisha has talked a handful of times now about how when she levels up, she thinks it would be more optimal to go to either one way or the other on either Sorcerer or Warlock. But because of the way that she's sort of been acting lately in her like relationship with Delilah, it makes more sense for her to go the opposite way instead of what would be currently more optimizing. Like they don't go for the more optimized choice when they level up because of storytelling. They don't pick the best feat to fit the best playstyle, but they pick the one that would be the most interesting for storytelling purposes. And I think this FCG coming back would fall under the same umbrella of storytelling purposes, and not bringing them back, even though the party does technically need a healer, would definitely, fall under the storytelling thing of we don't want to have this person come back because it would ruin an emotional moment. A moment that Campaign 3 desperately needs, because at the end of the day, when you go back over everything in the Campaign 1, Campaign 2, and Campaign 3, when you talk about emotional moments, death of a character is at the top of the list. And unfortunately, the only other true death that we've had so far this campaign, there's been two or three. There's been two deaths prior to this. One was Bertrand Bell, which was a scripted death, and the other was Laudna. And yes, that was very emotional, but that's also something that we need to remember. She came back, and that moment, because she came back, was greatly reduced. And, yes, there was a quest to go for it, but they haven't set out on that quest to revive FCG quite yet. So realistically, if they were going to, if Sam wanted to come back as FCG, the party would have likely had gone on a longer quest for a storytelling narrative to make it so that the sacrifice wasn't diminished. And I firmly believe that right there is the strongest bit of evidence we need to know that FCG won't be coming back. There is one more reason to why I don't think Sam Riegel is going to play FCG again. And it actually leads into the other theory that a lot of people have been saying surrounding Sam's return that I'm not a fan of. And that is the idea that Sam Riegel should come back as a different type of cleric. Now, why do I think those two things are related? Well, FCG was a cleric, and I think Sam Riegel didn't like playing a cleric. He struggled with the idea of having signature spells, because the most important and best spells for clerics always get used, and they were used by prior characters in prior campaigns. And thus, FCG didn't use them because Sam Riegel doesn't want to look like a copycat. He has specifically chosen things in the past to not be the same. Veth/Not is a very, very good example of this, because when it came from Campaign 1 to Campaign 2, they both had rogues in it. Vax was the rogue in Campaign 1, and Veth/Not was the rogue in Campaign 2. And to be just like Vax was a thing that Sam wanted to avoid like the plague. He wanted to not be the same confident, cocky, murderous type assassin that was Vax. He wanted to be a scared, afraid, less confident, almost unsure little thief rogue who eventually learns to, use magic, which is something that Vax didn't really do all that much until he sort of went into the divine with Paladin. So Sam specifically went out of his way to make himself different from a prior character, which is what he has done with FCG. He didn't use Spiritual Weapon anywhere near as much as he should have. He didn't use Guiding Bolt almost at all. He didn't use Spiritual Guardians at all either, because all of those spells that I just listed, they're the best spells for Cleric, for the most part. Inflict Wounds is also up there, but they're the best spells for Cleric, and they were all used by prior characters, and Sam viewed them as signature spells for them. For those who are curious, Pike was a big user of Guiding Bolt, and obviously Jester is synonymous with the term Spiritual Weapon, and Caduceus, in my opinion, is deeply tied to Spiritual Guardians, and Sam agrees. There's even a clip of him talking about this on Four-Sided Dive, which supports this idea that he struggled with the idea of him using these signature spells of other people. And I think this also leads into the reason why Sam chose to play a custom Cleric class instead of playing just a regular Cleric class, because Cleric is a really good class all on its own. You don't really need to have a custom Cleric class. But he did anyway because Sam wanted to stand out compared to the other clerics that were around. And he did so by being able to reduce damage for other people. And the other way that his character stood out was to have a murderous intention in his back of the mind and occasionally break after using too many of his abilities and taking too much damage. Because if he used his abilities and didn't expel that damage he took by saving other people, he would then hurt himself, and thus he would get a stress point. So all these things sort of work together to make the FCG character, and I think it somewhat backfired because it really didn't make FCG all that useful outside of healing. And yes, Cleric is a healing class, but when you're not using the best spells for Cleric, you get, really boxed in, and he was really, really, really boxed in. He could have been a menace. Clerics in general should be a menace. You should summon your Spiritual Weapon, sit in your Spiritual Guardians, and then heal the fuck out of the rest of your party. That is how a Cleric should realistically roll, in my opinion. To summon a weapon that can attack at distance, you sit back in a wave of protection, and then you either blast people with, Guiding Bolt, or when they get too close and they're standing inside your range, first of all, they take damage from Spiritual Guardians, but then you cast Inflict Wounds, and outside of that, you heal. That was not something that FCG ever did. FCG didn't like doing that. FCG would run up with a buzzsaw and slash people. FCG would run up or shoot people with their bolt or their grappling hook. They weren't a traditional Cleric. They were something different. So with the idea that Sam isn't necessarily totally on board with being a Cleric again, and people want something similar to FCG, if you were going to have another Aeoriton character be what Sam plays, the best option would be Paladin, but like a Vengeance Paladin, so they're very murderous. Unlike FCG, where they didn't really want to kill all the stuff that they ran into. They wanted to talk about things. They wanted to work things through. This one just wants to kill everything. And I think that would be really dope. A nice mirror to FCG. First of all, make him taller so he's not just, moving 25 feet, so he can actually run up and be a Paladin. But at the same time, it would mean that signature spells for Paladins would become this character's signature spells. Now, some people are going to point out, hang on a minute, we've had 2 Paladins in the past. You're right. We've had 2 multi-classed Paladins, where one person was a Hexblade Paladin, which is one of the most disgusting and overpowered multi-classes of all time, because, second level Paladin, you pick up Divine Smite, you can upcast that shit at max level for whatever your Warlock spell slots were, which is disgusting. Anyway, and then there was also Vax, who had a couple of levels of Paladin, which kind of work with Rogue, but I don't necessarily think it did, because Rogue would just do more damage if you went full-on Rogue instead of running out of resources like a Paladin would. But anyway, I digress. We've had 2 multi-class paladins. We haven't had 2 paladins. So if the paladin were to show up, suddenly Divine Smite would become their signature weapon in Sam's eyes. And I think that makes more sense for Sam to do and play rather than him playing as a cleric. So there you have it. Why I believe that Sam will not play FCG or a cleric when he returns at the live show. Hopefully he returns at the live show. Now, I do want to make this very clear. If you think or believe or love the idea of Sam playing as FCG again or as a cleric again, this is not me trying to put you down. This is me just trying to get my opinion across on the whole situation. Because I personally believe, with the rest of this video as being evidence, that that is not the case. And I am really curious as to where this idea has come from, because I am seeing it a lot, especially now that we're getting closer and closer to the live show and the potential return of Sam Riegel. I am seeing it a ton. Initially, when he first died, a bunch of people were on board with me saying, hey, he's going to be something completely different now. But as time has gone on, that has changed. I've seen a lot more people suggesting the idea of FCG returning or as a cleric returning. So I'm genuinely very curious as to why this is the case, why people believe this is the case. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. And if you do believe that FCG will be coming back, why? What do you think, story-wise reasoning and just general reasoning in general, that's a weird sentence, wow, I've messed myself up completely on that. But this is staying in. Let me know why you think FCG is going to be coming back. Give me story reasons. Give me real life reasons. I want to know. I really, truly want to know. Other than it's going to be the most optimal choice. Because if you say it's the most optimal choice, I automatically know that that means you don't necessarily pay attention to the choices that the players make. Because they have never made the most optimal choices. So I genuinely want to know, other than it'd be the most optimal choice as to why they'd bring them back. So, yeah, let me know. I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.
Dead or Asleep is definitely a coin toss.
I love it. Sam, throwing it back to Echoes of the Solstice reunion live in London. Why did you decide to play as Luke instead of Veth? What was it like bringing that character in for the game?
You didn't tell anybody.
Luke.
I didn't.
Nope. I am your mother.
I was confused by your outfit.
I have my personal theories on why you did it, but I'm.
Oh, well, I'd love to hear them.
No.
It was just.
This is a troll.
But that was it.
Was it a troll?
No, it wasn't troll. It's just I like to. My favorite thing in the world is to break the form. Nice. I like to break the form.
Well,